Is the superintendent of the Guam Department of Education. To his right, we have George Karpus, the governor's Homeland Security advisor. And to his right is Chuck Estevez, Charles Estevez. He's the director of Civil Defense on Guam. Okay. So we'll start again with remarks, and then we'll open up the floor to questions. George?
Good afternoon, everyone. Anis and Matunas Izulus. Okay, there's currently no change in the threat level. It has not changed since the past. It has not changed now, and we expect that the threat level will remain the same. We are hopeful that diplomacy will win the day. I'm hearing that Secretary Rex Tillerson, is opening up dialogue with North Korea. We're hopeful that goes through, and we're also moving about with the business of government and praying that things go well. Tomorrow is the first day of school for the public school system, and we're looking to see that more tourists come our way. Thank you.
Okay, John?
Hafaday, Superintendent of Education here on Guam. And tomorrow, August 17th, is our first day of school for the public schools. So we expect over 30,000 kids will be returning to our campuses, as well as many of them being escorted by their parents. So we are continuing on with our normal starting date. We anticipate normal operations. Many of our teachers and administrators are already on campus getting ready for the school year. So as typical, as we open the school year, many of our elected officials, including our board, including the governor, lieutenant governor, and some of his officials, as well as myself, will be out of the schools to welcome our families back to school. So I think over the past few days, we've been responding to a lot of questions about the preparation of our schools, and I'd like to emphasize that throughout the year, we remain prepared for any type of emergency, and that is the message that we've given to our parents, that rest assured we go through numerous practices and drills of our emergency procedures, so when they come to school they can trust that their faculty and administrators are well trained in being able to handle any type of incident that we may see at school. So we look forward to our parents showing up. We have some information that we'll be putting out to them, just to kind of give them the same information we're giving out to the general public, and we look forward to a very successful first day. So thank you. We'll take questions later.
Sorry, and before we get to Nate, just to let everybody know, because there were a couple media organizations that called me last night asking me about the timing of the school start. This is the regular scheduled start of the school year. Is August 17th. It was an approved calendar as of, was that last year?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. So yeah, just to clarify for everyone who's not familiar with the local schedule, this is this is what was planned. Sorry about that, Nate.
Oh yeah, no problem. Hafaday, everyone. I'm Nate tonight from the Guam Visitors Bureau. As far as tourism, of course, tourism is Guam's #1 industry and very vital to our economy and way of life here on the island. So far, we haven't seen any decreases in our tourism. As of the 12th of the month, our visitor arrivals were up approximately 5% over last year, and August is the busiest month of the year. And so, and last August was a record arrivals month, so it should be a good August. That's in the short term. In the long term, of course, with all the news stories and media coverage, we are getting inquiries from our different visitor source markets as to the safety of Guam, and that's why we thank, of course, Governor Cabo and Lieutenant Governor Tenorio, along with the entire administration, including Homeland Security and our military partners, for really getting out the word there that Guam is safe. There has been no change in the threat level. A lot of media has been here the past week or so, and have seen many visitors enjoying Guam and having no issues with coming to Guam and feeling very safe here. Guam has had a long history, 50 years of tourism, and we are known as a family-friendly, safe destination as a U.S. destination. So we're trying to get the word out there to our partners to alleviate any fears of, for people deciding where to travel in the future, so they feel comfortable coming to our island. That, the facts are the threat level hasn't changed. Many of our source markets, Japan and South Korea, China are much closer to the North Korean threat than we are here on Guam. And although the rhetoric is not positive, the facts are that there is no increase in the threat level. Thank you.
All right, we'll open to questions. Nick?
So yesterday, George, you and the Lieutenant Governor had mentioned that you are relieved that the reports out of the North Korea state media shows that they're withdrawing that threat. Have you heard anything since yesterday from the federal government?
No, there is no indications whatsoever that and of course, that sort of dialogue between at higher levels is not necessarily for public consumption. If I say that there is, that might be taken differently on the other side. So you never tell the enemy what you're going to do.
Right. Next question, sir.
Hi, I'm Jenny from Hong Kong Business TV. I have two questions. For the first one, as you mentioned about that the school is going to start tomorrow. So how do you think that, although the North Korean threat is a bit weakened, Guam is still facing a lot of challenges and attacks. So how do you think that the government could really help and to protect its citizens and also the tourists? And the second question is, we know that there are 3 military bases covering roughly 1/3 of land in Guam. From the perspective of citizens, do you think that it is an advantage or it is putting the citizens in a more dangerous position here?
Okay, I'll take the first part and then I'll hand it over to my colleagues for the education part. I've stated before that Guam's economy is dependent on two things. We sell paradise, that's NIC, and we sell strategic location, that's the military, the 3 bases that you're talking about. There's a delicate balance that we have to manage on that. We're always hopeful that the balance is in favor of paradise, and that brings in the tourists. But of course, we have to protect ourselves with a strategic location. I am very confident, very, very confident in the abilities of the U.S. Department of Defense to not only defend the island of Guam, but also the Marianas and the rest of our allies in the region.
And with regard to education and receiving our students back, I'd like to emphasize that here on Guam, we're used to many different types of potential situations. Most of the time, it has to do with weather, super typhoons that come through the area and then make their way up from here all the way into Asia around the Pacific Rim. So, and then of course we're attuned to many of the other risks and situations that happen across the country and across the world in terms of the threats and risks that schools face. So what we have is we do have standard operating procedures regarding emergency preparation and response. Every month we drill in many different types of responses. So whether it's fire drills, whether it's bomb threats, whether it's lockdowns, evacuations, reverse evacuations. Active shooter has been an issue that has been popping up around the world in many situations that we've had to, again, update our emergency responses so that we are familiar and able to respond in different situations like that. So we work with our partners in law enforcement to help us ensure that we have strong plans, and we drill that in many different ways. So the other thing about that is that our many of our facilities, either new or they were built, many of them built maybe 40 years ago and built solid. I mean, these are solid concrete structures that have withstood many of the disasters that we faced, and whether it's earthquakes, whether it's typhoons. And so from a structural standpoint, we're able to shelter, and we've acted as village shelters during emergencies. And again, even though that's not a central activity and duty of our school staff and school administrators, they've been well prepared, and they do this on a regular basis, which is basically manning village emergency shelters in the event that we need to, and that means housing up to 2,000, 2,500 individuals during the brunt of a storm, ensuring that they're fed, ensuring that water is delivered, and working with our other agencies to make sure we take care of our residents. So this is not an unfamiliar territory for us.
Just to follow that question up, sir. So you're saying that the school children, when they return tomorrow, will they too have to go through drills, or is it just staff? Would you put your children through preparations and planning as well for something like a missile attack?
No, absolutely. Students actually go through these drills on a monthly basis. So this is actually a regular occurring situation. So like I said, we have very robust emergency response plans, and and then we drill throughout the year. Of course, this is an unusual situation. It's not something that happens all the time, but for sure, in the event that we need shelter in place as a response, that is drilled. I have children in the public school system. They go through those drills along with the staff and the staff, teachers, and administrators.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lisa Holland from Sky News. How concerned are you about the forthcoming US South Korean military drills, the annual drills? And are you concerned that this could be seen by North Korea as provocation? Do you think this is the next big hurdle that you face?
That you're talking about OG Freedom Guardian, the exercise that's run by U.S. Forces Korea. That's scheduled, tentatively scheduled for next week. North Korea always sees that as a provocation, a provocative measure. The decision to conduct or not conduct that drill is beyond my level. Once again, I'm always hopeful that diplomacy wins the day, and the decision to continue with that exercise may or may not be used or seen by North Korea as provocative. But like I said, Secretary Tillerson is opening up the dialogue with North Korea.
Do you see that as your next big hurdle?
Which one?
These exercises?
No, our next big hurdle is opening schools tomorrow, keeping tourists coming.
But do you feel that that's going to raise the threat level? As you said, the threat level.
It has in the past. Like I said, North Korea sees the Ultra Freedom Guardian (UFG) exercise or any exercises on the Korean Peninsula as provocative. Whether or not that's their take on it, we don't see it that way.
Okay. Sir.
A question for the Homeland Security Advisor, Gavino Garai with Reuters. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Joseph Dunford, is now in the region. He's touched down in China. You said that you don't want to tell the enemy what your plan is. How do you feel about this top U.S. official in the region? Do you feel reassured by that?
Yes, I am, very much. Thank you, General Dunford, for getting into harm's way. That missile can be shot anywhere that any of our top officials are at. And of course, General Dunford is here not for to push military plans. He's there for diplomacy. So I'm very reassured that General Dunford is doing that.
Are you in contact with General Dunford? Does he have any plans to visit Guam?
No, I am not personally. I'm in contact with Admiral Chatfield, the local GRM commander, and also Department of Homeland Security, the federal government.
Okay. Sir?
It's William Marshall, Fox News. George, for you. When you received the threat from North Korea and you chose not to raise the threat level, was that based entirely on your belief that the U.S. anti-missile system would intercept such a missile? Or did you receive any kind of intelligence, or what is your assessment that it would have been simply a test firing, dummy warhead, if you will, target practice, versus something with an active warhead?
It's based on both those things. One, my very high trust and confidence in the National Ballistic Missile Defense System that the U.S. has deployed to this area. And two, that the military is telling me that things are normal.
And for civil defense, did you make any preparation at all? I know you didn't raise the threat level. Did you do anything based on the fact that you received the threat?
I can tell you that we've been doing preparations actually several months prior to this incident. It's not a knee-jerk reaction that we're doing drills and we're going through our plans. We do quarterly updates to our plans. We actually just promulgated through executive order our Guam Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan this past December. And so we have a very updated plan. It actually follows Presidential Policy Directive 8, National Preparedness, and it across all 5 mission areas. The primary mission areas that we're focusing now and that we're rehearsing, of course, is our response and recovery. We still have to follow our missions for mitigation, prevention, and protection. But on the prevention side and protection side, a lot of that falls on our military partners.
I'm afraid I don't understand. Something in recovery?
Yeah, so we have 5 mission areas that we do in civil defense. So Hafaday, I just want to let you know, Charles Sevis, Administrator for the Office of Civil Defense, new face right now here. I was actually on a family vacation. Yep, and I came here the day that I came here yesterday. Okay, with my family, and you know, I want to be here, you know, should anything happen.
So is anything correlated specifically to the threat or not?
No, it is not. Nothing's correlated. We follow an all hazards, all threats plan, as do most of the 54 states and territories, the CNMI in Washington, D.C. We follow the National Preparedness Doctrine developed by DHS and FEMA, and we also have our response and recovery frameworks. So our plans are not correlated to the threat. We do have annexes to our plan for specific types of threats. I can tell you that in our top 6 threats, when we do our annual threat hazards identification risk assessment, that nuclear, the attack from a ballistic missile is not in our top 6 threats. Okay, from our annual assessments, our top threats in Guam are tsunamis, typhoons, earthquakes, tsunamis, cyber security threats, explosives. You know, that could be, you know, man-made or improvised explosive device, and pandemic human. Those are our top 6 threats. We do have a longer list, but generally when we actually apply for our non-disaster preparedness funding through FEMA, they're focused on mitigating, are doing some sort of mitigation type of activity, protective activity, or prevention activity for those top 6 threats.
But given this island territory now seems to be the focus, the new frontier of the Korean missile crisis, isn't it time to rewrite that list?
Yeah.
Wait, we're not.
No.
Yeah.
We are not going to put ballistic missile defense at the top. Like I said, I have very high confidence in our national missile defense, so we don't have to worry about that. We have other worries. I'm more worried right now about transnational criminal organizations, illicit drugs, and cybersecurity than the stuff coming out of the Korean Peninsula.
I mean, and just as a reminder, this is not the first threat that we've seen coming from North Korea directed at Guam. You know, we've seen this before. So, you know, when you talk about being a new frontier, when you talk about Guam being the new frontier as far as the North Korea threat, it's, you know, if you're relatively speaking, you know, in terms of decades, maybe. But in terms of years, no, we've faced this before. Ma'am?
But isn't the point that you faced this before but with a different man at the White House?
No, it's not. It's not. The national missile defense of the United States does not change just because we've changed presidents. It doesn't change.
All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for attending. Oh, but I think Nate tonight had a...
Well, yeah, I mean, I am the tourism guy, and, you know, we are appreciative of the media coverage, and many of you have also covered the other things on Guam, the tourism, and we are appreciative of that. We are having a mixer tonight at the Two Lovers Point. Josh will hand out the flyer with the directions. You're all welcome to attend if you're still here on island. So, half a day and welcome to Guam. Thank you.
Thank you.